Hello viewers, for the PMP examination preparation, we are focusing today on lesson 3 and today's focus is only on resources. So for resource management actually we have to identify the resources. Resources can be two types, one is people, another is equipment. So how we can acquire them, people and equipments. So when we have to fix the who will be responsible for what purpose, what activities. So we have to define the roles of each of the team or each of the people. So what will be the functions of a person, of a project? What will be the authority of each group or each team or each member? And who will take the decisions? Who will accept the deliverables? And who will be responsible for what activities? This kind of role definition we have to make. And we have to make a organizational chart. Who will be the upper level, who will be the mid level, and who will be the junior subordinate level. We have to fix that. And project also we will have some teams, and each team will have some resources, equipments, and team members, worker or officer. So we have to make a team development methods and we have to train them. So we have to have the training mechanisms, training resources. And we have to fix that who will control the resources, who will decide that how many people will be in the which team. So these sort of decisions we have to make. And then we will assign the resources and allocate responsibilities. We will assign team members to the project and decide roles and responsibilities. We will create a team directory, organization chart, and the schedule. So team directory is the list of team members or grouping of them. And then we will make organizational chart, who will be the senior, who will be the mid-level, and who will be the subordinate. And then we will make the schedule, who will work when, how. So project schedules, resource assignments, and budgets are all interrelated and can be created at the same time. So we have to tailor the responsibilities according to the team because each team has some strengths and weaknesses. Each team members has some strengths and weaknesses. We have to find that and then we have to tailor the responsibilities based on their capacities, time availability, and skills. And then we should consider the technical and soft skills, especially the experiences, knowledge, skills, attitude. So we have to find each of the members' experiences, each of the members' knowledge, their skills, attitude, so that we can evaluate them perfectly and give them the roles that can be performed by them on time with quality. So we can use a resource calendar. What is resource calendar? It's a document where we can list the resource availability. For example, people, equipments, materials during a planned activity period. And then we can specify when and for how long each resource is available to work and who will be befitting in which place for which work. So this sort of work we have to done. We have to identify the team and physical resources that will be available during the project. And we can also work for the progressively elaborate and update it throughout the project. We have the resource calendar, so it should be updated, progressively updated throughout the project. And these resource calendars can be used in any kinds of project, always. And the next question is resource need, make or buy. We need some resources. Should we make it ourselves? Or we buy it? So sometimes it happens that we can hire the resource from outside. So external sources can be used. So, for example, you will do a civil work. So you need a mixer machine. So will you buy it or will you hire it? So it depends on your need and budget and the scope of work. So what is the impact on cost, time or quality? Is there an ongoing need for the specific skill set? How steep is the learning curve? Are required resources available within the organization? So if not available, we have to hire. But we can buy also. So it depends on if you buy or not. You can buy it or you can hire it, so lease it for the certain time. So hire or lease or buy, both are from external source. So will you buy it or you have it? You need 5 persons for working. If you have these people with the capacity or skills to perform the work in your organizations, then you can use the people from your own organizations. But if you have not, then you have to hire them, buy them. So you have to decide it based on your budget, necessity, capacity. You have to decide it. So make or buy analysis is the process of gathering and organizing data about product and services requirements and analyzing data against available alternatives, including the purchase or internal manufacture of the project. So whatever you have resources in the organizations, either team member or the equipments or the materials, or if you don't have, so based on this and scope of work, you have to decide whether you will use your existing resources or you will buy it from the external sources. And then you will have to evaluate with the RASI model. What is RASI model? There are many people working in the organizations in your project. So some people will be responsible for the work. Some other people will be accountable for the work. But some other people will be consulted, not be responsible, not will be accountable. And some other people are there, just you will inform them. They are not responsible, they are not accountable, and they will not be consulted. So there are 4 kinds of people working or connecting with your project. Number 1 is responsible, 2 is accountable, 3 is consulted, and last one is informed. So who will be responsible? The person, the team member who performs the work, who do the duties, who actually work in the field. They will be responsible because they have to perform the work. And then who will be accountable? Accountable will be a person who is a leading position. So they will actually supervise, guide, and keep care of the responsible people, whether they are working perfectly, whether they are in the schedule, within the scope, within the cost. So they will oversee all the works of responsible people. If any kind of fail happens, so it will be the responsibility of accountable team. So the leadership management is the person or the team, they are called accountable. And who will be consulted? They will not be actually responsible or accountable. They are the people who will be consulted because they are the expert on a certain matter of a specific issue. So they will be consulted. And the last one is they are the outsiders or some kind of stakeholders. They should be informed whatever happening in the project, but they will not take consultation from them. They will not be responsible. They will not be accountable. Now planning the procurement strategy. So we'll buy something from the outside source, external source. We have to buy something. We have to hire something. In this case, we have to decide some strategies. So what will be the acquisition method? What will be the contract types? What will be the procurement phases? Whether we will use pre-approved vendors before requesting a new vendor, or we should observe purchase amount limit by signatory. Contracts valued over a certain threshold must be co-signed. So we will use different kinds of templates and bidding processes, and that should be fixed. And required request for proposals for contracts valued over a certain threshold. If it is over a certain threshold, we have to consult with the higher team and follow the acceleration procedure for approval of spending limits. If you cross the spending limits, we have to go to the PMO or the product owner and pay contracts at a defined time. So in terms of time, in terms of budget, in terms of scope, we have to think clearly that what kind of acquisition method, what kind of contract types, and what kind of procurement phases we will be following for our product. So procurement management plan is a component of the project or program management plan that describes how a project team will acquire its goods and services from the external sources. Sorry. So there are some procurement documents that should be known to all of you. One is a statement of work. It's actually a detailed description of your work. Then request for quotation. It's a bid or tender or quotation including only cost. It's quotation, the price list are there. And then invitation for bid. It's the buyer. So there are two categories, buyer and seller. Who is buyer? The project is buyer. The project owner or project team, they are the buyer because they will buy it from the external sources. And who is the seller? Who is the seller? Is the outsider who will actually be selected for providing us the resources. So seller is outsider who is providing the product. So buyer is actually the project team, the product team members or the PMO, whatever you say. So invitation for bid is the buyer request, expression of interest in work. So this is the buyer request. Second one is request for information. In this case, buyer from the project side, buyer request more information from the seller about the product. On the other hand, request for proposal is a buyer issued statement of work required. This is also buyer. From the project side, buyer issued a statement of work that's called request for proposal, so that people actually provide their expression. And what is EUI? This is from the seller side. The previous three is from buyer side. Invitation for bid from the buyer, request for information from the buyer, request for proposal from the buyer. But expression of interest is from the seller. They show their interest that they actually want to supply the product or services. So seller issued expression of interest in work. So what is statement of work? It's a narrative description of products, services or results to be delivered. And what is RFP? Request for proposal. It's type of procurement document used to request proposals from prospective sellers of products or services. In some application areas, it may have a narrower or more specific meaning. So what will be the formal procurement processes? Sometimes organizations in highly regulated industries or government, or if a project needs specialized work or wants to find the best quality available, in this case, there can be a bidder conferences. Bidder conferences actually are a formal process to ensure all prospective vendors have a clear and common understanding of the procurement, because whatever we are going to procure is very tricky, complex, not before done. We cannot define it. So in this case, we can make a meeting with the prospective sellers or vendors who will be providing it to specify the specification of the product or team or resources. So bidder conferences is that meetings with prospective sellers prior to the preparation of a bid or proposal to ensure all prospective vendors have a clear and a common understanding of the procurement, also called vendor conferences, pre-bid conferences or contractor conferences. So there are four names but same thing: vendor conferences, pre-bid conferences, contractor conferences or bidder conferences. It's the same thing. Now, how it is actually procured? First, we determine the need. Then we request. We means from the project side, buyer, we request for the supply. And then there are some proposals, expression of interest from the buyer side. And then we make the contract. So what will be the source selection criteria? Source selection criteria is a set of attributes desired by the buyer which a seller is required to meet or exceed to be selected for a contract. So procurement department will prepare with consultation with the project manager. So in deciding source selection criteria, we have to keep in mind about overall life cycle cost, understanding of the need, technical capability, management approaches, technical approach, warranty, financial capacity, and references, especially the intellectual property rights and property rights, everything. And now, what is contract? A contract is a mutually binding agreement that obligates the seller to provide specified project or service or result and obligates the buyer to pay for it. So there are two parties in the contract. There are two parties. They are legally in a bondage in an agreement. So they agree for salaries agreeing for providing some product or services resources. On the other hand, buyer is ready for paying it. So both agree. So it's a mutually binding agreement that obligates both buyer and seller. So it's a legalized working agreement. It gives structure to working relationship, further collaboration with partners. It considers risk associated with the contract types because if you are in an agreement, there will not be risk. Deliver benefits to the buyer, different benefits by type, and can be tailored as per the necessity. So, what are the components of a contract? In a contract, there should be description of the work, deliverables, and scope, and then there should have the delivery date and schedule information. And components, another components is identification of authority where appropriate. Responsibilities of both parties, seller and buyer, both parties have some responsibility. These will be described in the agreement. Management of technical and business aspects also should be there. Price and payment terms should be included there. Provisions for termination should be there, and applicable guarantees and warranties should be there, and intellectual property also should be mentioned there, and the security, confidentiality, and data privacy also should be stipulated there. So in a contract, these all these aspects should be included. So these are the components of contracts. Now we will be discussing about the contract types. Actually, we have three types of contract types. One is reimbursable contract types, another is fixed price contract types, third one is time and material contracts. So we will be discussing one by one. First one is reimbursable contracts. So in the reimbursable contracts, cost reimbursable. Cost reimbursable means actually we are trying to reimburse the cost. That's our main focus. So this can be also categorized into three: cost plus fixed fee (CPFF), cost plus incentive fee (CPIF), cost plus award fee (CPAF). What is the difference between them? So cost plus fixed fee. Here actually we will reimburse the cost only, and then we will give a fixed fee to the seller. So when a seller will provide some resources to us as a buyer, we will actually give him the only cost, and then also we will provide him a fixed fee for providing these resources. So cost plus fixed fee. Second one is cost plus incentive fee. What is that? So we will here also will provide the cost only, and based on his performance we also give him some incentive. So incentive amount can be changed, not fixed. The previous one is fixed fee, but this one is incentive. So based on the performance of the seller, it can be less or more. But another point here is important that if the cost is more than the decision decided or agreement, in that case the cost will be shared by both and buyer and seller. Maybe it's 50-50 or 80-20. It should be shared if the cost is more than the decided price. So here we will provide the cost and also will provide the incentive based on the performance. And the last one is cost plus award fee. Here also we will provide the cost and also we will give award based on the subjective criteria of the buyer. So buyer will evaluate the work, the quality of the service or resources provided by the seller, and then with buyer's subjective mind they will decide that whether it's better or best or normal. Depending on them, that they will actually give some award to the seller. So it can be different amount. It depends on the judgment of the buyer. So this is the actually difference between these three. Cost plus award fee. Reimburse seller for all legitimate cost. Bases majority of fee on satisfying subjective performance criteria. Define and include into the contract and determine fee based on the sellers. So these are the options actually. And now the fixed price contract. The previous one was cost reimbursable. Now it's fixed. So fixed price contracts are categorized into three again. Number one is fixed price incentive fee, FPIF. Number two is fixed price with economic price adjustment, FPEPA. Number three, pre-approved vendors or international payments. So what is the difference between these three? Fixed price incentive fee, FPIF. It gives buyer and seller flexibility. Price is fixed and incentives also will be fixed. Allows for deviation from performance, that is financial incentives tied to achieving agreed upon metrics, cost, schedule, awareness. So there will be price fixed, but if the seller can maintain the cost quality, schedule, awesomeness, everything is fine, then they will be given the incentive in a certain percentage. That's called fixed price incentive fee. Number two is fixed price with economic price adjustment. You know, in the market actually there is inflation, cost increases, decreases, market price hikes are there. In this case, it will be adjusted. So there is a fixed cost in the agreement, it will be provided. But if there is any kind of inflation or cost increases, then it will be considered. That's called fixed price with economic price adjustment. And last one is pre-approved vendors or international. It's given. And the first one is I have missed. Firm fixed price. Firm fixed price, FFP. Price of goods at the beginning won't change unless scope changes. So if price is fixed, no incentive, no nothing, everything fixed. So fixed amount in the agreement, there will be provided fixed amount. If the project scope is increased, then the price will be increased, otherwise not. The second one is fixed price plus incentive. So based on the quality and capacity and the work fine-tune work or awesomeness, the best they have done the work within the cost. They have done the work with the schedule. So in that case, buyer can give them some incentive fee in a certain percentage. That's called fixed price plus incentive fee. So these are the three. Thank you so much. And last one, in terms of when we do some kind of precise scope or statement of work is very unavailable, so normal work, in that case we actually use time and material contracts, also called it time and means. So it's combined aspects of both cost reimbursable and fixed price contracts to make it happen. So actually they used often of augmenting staff, acquiring experts or gaining external support. In this kind of situation we actually use it. Now what will be the contract types in the agile? So in agile contracts, actually we use multi criteria, multi-tiered structure. In multi-tiered structure, actually we create a master service agreement to capture fixed items, that is warranties, arbitration. So list variables items in scheduled services, service rate, product descriptions. And we use a statement of work to itemize dynamic items like scope, schedule, budget. So it is multi-tiered structure contracts. And then next one is emphasize value delivered. In this case, actually buyer and seller focus only on the value. If value delivered, it's done, so they'll be paid. The focus is only value. Number 3 is fixed price increment. Here actually we decompose scope into smaller pieces and fixed price micro deliverables. So we fix the price for micro deliverables for each of the component, giving the customer more control over how the money is spent and limiting the supplier's financial risk. So supplier is providing small by small portion and having his payment with for this each of these small portion. So both are in happy position. Number 4 is not to exceed time and materials. So actually in this case buyer and seller in agreement that actually they will keep the time and they will specify the materials. So if everything is in the limit, budget is limited, so they have to work in the within budget. But if they want to reduce budget, in that case some items will be removed. Next one is graduated time and materials. In this case, connect quality and timely delivery of work, delivery of done to financial award. So if someone do the work on time with quality, they are awarded. And early cancellation options also in the agile contracts can be happened. And dynamic scope options, in this case, gives option to vary scope and fund innovation at a specific point while limiting supply risk. So in this case, actually it's dynamic. So in the middle of the work, the scope can be changed, but however, the supplier's risk also will be limited in this case. And last one is team augmentation. That means it embed supplier service directly into the customer organization and fund team instead of scope. Here, team is more emphasized more than the scope. So this is all from this part. So we have discussed on the resources part here, how will be resource decided, how will be decided about the team, the resource manpower, the human resource, the equipments, the materials, and what will be needed, how they will be collected from the internal source or external sources. If external sources, how the procurement strategy is happening. Everything is described in this video. Thank you so much. In next video we'll be covering the budget issue.